What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an all-new Let's Play Star Wars Empire at War. We are about to dive into a brand new Galactic Conquest. But before we get started, I do want to mention a few things. We are playing Star Wars Empire at War, which is the vanilla version. It's not the Forces of Corruption expansion. And don't get me wrong, I do own that as well, and we will be playing that eventually. But what I wanted to do is I just wanted to showcase the games before we get into anything fancy and too extreme. Now, this game is a little dated, but it still remains one of my favorite. LucasArts and Petroglyph published this game, and I believe it was 2007. So obviously the graphics are looking a little outdated, but I can assure you, when this was released, it was probably the most beautiful game on the market for that time period. So obviously we have a variety of different Galactic Conquests map mode. We have some very, very large maps with 43 planets, and we have some very small maps with only 10 planets. And because we are planning on playing the Forces of Corruption expansion, I'm going to play somewhat of a middle ground with only 21 planets. Of course, this is the Conflict Begins on medium difficulty, and we have the ability to choose our side, the Empire and the Rebellion. But of course, I do love playing as the Empire, but to keep things interesting, we are going to be playing as the Rebellion. Alright, we have the Conflict Begins. The Alliance is small, holding only one planet as a base of operations. The Empire has consolidated their presence in the center of the galaxy. Both sides hold little advantage. The Rebels must use every conceivable means to bring the galaxy back together under a banner of freedom. You have 8,000 credits to bolster your forces, but survival depends on spreading the rebellion to new planets. So basically, in order to win this Galactic Conquest, we have to remove the Empire from the galaxy altogether. Okay, that's a given. We can kill the Emperor, which is actually a little bit of a challenge, but probably what we're going to try for. And of course, we have the ability, if we destroy the Death Star, they, of course, we're just going to win the game altogether. Now, one thing I do want to point out, if Mon Mothma, who is currently our hero, a leader of the rebellion, if she dies by accident, we lose the campaign. So what we need to do is we need to sort of play defensive, but let's also go ahead and put a quick pause. And if you're kind of familiar with Rome Total War or Civilization games, it's surprisingly nothing like that. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a grand strategy, but Star Wars Empire at War is kind of not necessarily turn-based. Now, don't get me wrong, you can pause the game, but this is a real-time grand strategy game, so once we unpause, every single day, we collect our income. And you know what? We only are making 300 credits a day. But, you know, eventually we might make 5,000 or 6,000 credits a day, and you'll see in just a few moments. So where we are, we have two strongholds. We have Hoth, and we have Yavin 4. And, of course, we have 8,000 credits. So if you look at the map, we currently have green planets, which are obviously under Rebellion control, and we have a variety of yellow planets. And basically what those mean are the yellow planets are controlled by pirates. And don't get me wrong, just because they're pirates does not necessarily mean they're pushovers. They definitely have some very powerful defenses and some very powerful spaceports. So what we need to do is if we want to continue to grow, we have to go ahead and try to conquer some of these provinces. And in fact, I'll probably concentrate more on Hoth rather than Yavin 4. And I do want to point out another thing. Though these are pirates and they're very powerful, essentially they just act as a buffer zone against the Empire. So I don't believe, or at least as far as I know, the pirates won't necessarily ever attack me. So, you know, they are a little bit of a challenge to take out. So if the Empire does manage to conquer one of these planets, we are going to have a lot of forces, and we are going to do a countermeasure to take over the province they just took. Alright, I'm looking around the map, and before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about my heroes. I currently have Mon Mothma, which is currently the leader of the rebellion. She is very powerful, but also she comes at a heavy price. If we do lose Mon Mothma, we lose the campaign, so I want to do everything in my power to ensure she doesn't die. And a little bit different, from the Empire playstyle, we have R2-D2 and, of course, C-3PO, a dynamic duo. But if we unpause the game, C-3PO can travel to a variety of different planets, and he basically does reconnaissance. And he eventually will be able to steal technology. But for right now, essentially the Rebellion has free scouting, whereas the Empire would have to pay a very small fee. I believe it's only 30 credits, so it's not much of a difference. But of course, the Empire can do a lot more scouting, whereas we can really only play linearly with C-3PO and R2-D2. Now anyway, let's go ahead and dive on in. I'm going to resume the game. And actually, before I get started, if we click on the province of Hoth, you can see that I already have a mining facility, I have a variety of troops, and I have a barracks. Now, I don't necessarily need another barracks, but I do want to be making a lot more income. So let's build up 2 mining facilities, and I feel like we're going to also produce 1 unit of flex troopers and 1 unit of infantry. Now, looking around, we are going to head over to Yavin 4. We already have a barracks, as you can see. I guess I can click Yavin 4. And surprisingly enough, this is the moon itself. It is not the actual planet, which is kind of cool. Obviously, you would have known that if you were playing Star Wars. But basically, we already own the barracks. That's the only thing we can produce right now. So we might as well just pump out as many mining facilities as possible. And of course, we can see the breakdown. It looks like each mining facility only gives us a... Well, I believe each mining facility gives us roughly 80 credits, and I could be mistaken. But ultimately, if we have a lot more mining facilities, we're going to do a lot better. And of course, different planets give you a variety of different bonuses. And finally, I've been talking for about 6 minutes now, so let's go ahead and resume this game. Alright, so now that I have my production queues placed up, I'm going to take R2-D2 and C-3PO on a scouting mission to the province of Bespin. And basically, if we hover over Bespin, it says this planet has a higher than average credit production rate, which is nice, but it's basically this big gas giant, a cloud city, if you may, so we can't actually build any type of ground troops. And there are a variety of planets just like that, but Bespin appears to be the very first. So let's go ahead and bring over our fleet. We are still building troops, and now that we own the province of Bespin, I'm going to actually pause this just again to explain a few things. My number 1 priority is to basically go ahead and secure the province for our own, and by building a space station level 1. Now, don't get me wrong, yes, we are going to be unlocking a variety of new production queues, which I guess we can now build more X-Wings. But if we unlock the space station, you can see that green 10 on the left. We're going to be getting a lot more unit capacity, and right now we're kind of at our limit. So it is a little bit of a big deal, but obviously I want to go ahead and fix that up sooner or later. And I'm probably going to do the same thing with Yavin 4. Basically, it is going to cost us a lot of extra money, but I'm going to need a lot more capacity if I need to grow, if I need to start building up a lot of my garrison. All right, let's finally resume the game. I'm eventually going to move to Atziri, but I am going to need a lot more infantry to do an actual invasion. Now, from where I stand, I'm going to be moving C-3PO and R2-D2 on over. We're going to scout around. Now, because this is technically the first mission, and I've already played once before, I know that we can pretty much take out this pirate fleet, even though we don't necessarily have the strongest unit. But I'm going to go ahead and send over my units. And let's go ahead and pump out a space station level 2. So here goes our very first space battle, and I'm hoping for the best. Now also, if you want to pause the game, you could read all this historical references. But I just want to point out this is a black market planet, and, you know, not really necessarily the worst weather, and pretty much a lot of marshes. But ultimately, we are going to be doing a space battle, but if we could somehow take over the space area around the planet and do some sort of invasion, military invasion, we're going to unlock a variety of extra credits. So let's begin. And here we go. So I'm also going to pause one more time to talk a little bit about space battles. Whoops. Instead of pressing pause, I pressed accelerate. So basically, we don't necessarily have the strongest fleet in the game. This is currently what we have. So we have one actually, I guess I'll hover over everybody. We have one Nebulon B frigate, and basically frigates are strong against corvettes. Corvettes are very weak, but they are strong against fighters, which are all of these units. And we obviously have, you know, regular fighters and we have bombers. Bombers are good against frigates and sometimes corvettes. But, you know, the corvettes could easily annihilate these bombers. So basically, that's everybody we have, and you'll see this is going to be a very easy battle. But all you can do is, you know, take a quick glance at what I'm trying to do and try to maneuver. I kind of want to get all of my bombers out of the way, and I'm bringing up all of my corvettes. I see they have a few fighters in here. I see we can easily annihilate this corvette. This is a pirate version of the corvette. And I am a little worried about this frigate coming in, but I think that's really the last ship they have. Now, like I said, Nebulon B frigates are really strong against corvettes. I'm going to take all of my bombers and take out their laser batteries. And when you look at bigger ships, they have a variety of different things you can target. Laser batteries are pretty much good against fighters, whereas proton torpedo launchers are really good against, you know, actual bigger ships. And that the reason why is they don't actually penetrate the shields. They go right through. Or they don't damage the shields, they just penetrate. Now, I don't think we've actually lost any units. Now, fingers crossed. I think this is the last unit. There we go. So we've managed to do our we've managed to win our very first space battle. Looks like we didn't lose anybody at all, which is fantastic. And of course, I still want to go ahead and build up a lot of additional troops because I am going to need to do an actual invasion of the planet of Otsiri. While we're here, let's go ahead and take R2-D2 and C-3PO, and we see that we now have access to the Empire. And basically, a little bit of a difference. The Empire has to go ahead and build research labs. Let's actually pause. Whereas the Empire does not build research labs to improve technology, they steal the technology from the Empire. And as far as I know, R2-D2 and C-3PO are the only ones that can do that. And so we have a variety of different factors here. We could go ahead and purchase those powerful Nebulon B frigates. And in fact, when I say purchase, I mean steal for 400 credits. So we can learn the plans to build the Nebulon B frigate, which is obviously what you just saw, but we were not able to produce those. We can get a very strong long-range scanner. We can go ahead and get a shield generator, which might be nice for some ground combat. I would really like to get the light factory, so finally building some tanks rather than some infantry might be ridiculously helpful. And of course, we could build some Y-Wing squadrons. I feel like my biggest priority are these three, but while we're starting off, let's go ahead and unlock the Y-Wings. And, you know what? I've got to unpause. Excuse me.
Reporting.
New construction options.
There we go. And once we have roughly, I'm looking over here, once we have about 9 and 9, I'm going to try to do an invasion of Otziri. And we're producing units, don't get me wrong, but for the time being, I'm probably going to try to gear up a powerful force to take the province of Bonadin.
Constructing unit.
And might as well just use up all of our credits. And it looks like some mining facilities are still being built up. Actually, I'm not going to build any infantry just yet.
Enlisting troops.
Inside Yavin 4, of course. And now the reason why is our unit capacity is actually almost at maximum, so I am a little worried about that.
Reporting.
Okay, like I said, I wanted to have 9 and 9. Not exactly sure what I'll have altogether. And let's go ahead and take Mon Mothma, put you in... I was hoping all these forces would go here. So we need about 5 more units of Plex and 2 more units of infantry. Whereas we're about to get 2 of those infantry units now. And we need 1 more unit of Plex soldiers. And then I'm going to be happy. Let's go ahead. Looks like C-3PO and R2-D2 are prepped and ready to go. Let's go ahead and steal up another technology. And I want to make sure we're not double-timed. I don't think we are. I would absolutely like to take the light factory. And of course, now we have the ability to build tanks, which might be incredibly useful. Alright, and I think all we needed was 1 more Plex soldier. And then once everybody's prepped and ready to go, I think we are finally going to be ready as well. All of our units are ready. I would like to build another Corvette and maybe 2 more Y-Wings. We don't have enough population. So I guess we are getting ready for another major conflict. I'm really worried that our very first initial battle might not go as planned. And the reason why is we don't necessarily... I think Dagobah would probably be a lot easier to control, or some of these other cities, or some of these other planets. But we're going to try to go for Adziri, and the only reason why is because I like to go ahead and set up, you know, a nice perimeter. Mission Holocron has been updated. To be honest, I don't really care about any of
Y-Wing
these.
squadron reporting.
This is our last infantry unit, and once he gets produced, we're going to try try an actual land invasion. All right, we are currently paused. Let's go ahead and put you. We got to unpause the game. Excuse me. All of these units are going to make their way over, and now all of our infantry units are going into Adziri. I think I am going to be putting on R2-D2 and C-3PO. I don't think they really do a lot of damage, but they are a hero unit, so I don't know. Maybe we could try our best. And I get that we have overwhelming numbers. I've actually tried this before and I've lost, so we're going to do an auto-resolve. And the reason why is because I'm good with using tanks, but it's just a little frustrating because they have these pirate-based facilities, and we'll talk a little bit about those later. But they just keep pumping out units and pumping out units, so it gets a little ridiculous and a little annoying. Now that we own Adziri, our #1 priority is build up a space station. We also want to get a light factory and, of course, a bunch of mining facilities. Looking on over, all of our spacecraft are done. We are now going to go for Bonadon. And if we hover over, it says Bonadon. This planet has a higher than average credit production rate. Now, I don't really want to do an auto-resolve because these units were actually incredibly expensive, and I think we can win. So if we take over this planet, I am going to probably build nothing but mining facilities, and then I'll have a lot more money. Alright, our fleet seems about the same size, and much like before, obviously we're on a different side of the galaxy, but what I want to do is bring up my frigate.
Key elements of the enemy's forces is an optimal tactic. Try to separate the defending units to pick them apart.
And then we're going to be bringing in our Y-bomber soon enough. Alright, I see they have a frigate. Our Nebulon frigates are good against their corvettes. Our corvettes will take out their fighters. Our Y-Wings are going to try to take out their laser batteries. And we've already destroyed their corvette. Looks like they've got another one. Oh my goodness, there is literally nothing they can do. I don't know why this corvette's running away. I obviously misclicked. That was really easy. I was expecting it to be a lot harder. Now, I guess that's the first mission on the other side of the galaxy. But we didn't really lose any forces, but now the issue of taking out Bonadon comes along. Now that we own the area around Bonadon, we now need to do an actual invasion.
Construction complete.
And in order to do that, we need some rebel troops. Alright, our space station has been unlocked. Let's go ahead and get more capacity and a stronger space station as well. And because we're here, let's build some Plex soldiers and some infantry. And now we can build some actual T2B tanks. And the reason why is I'm planning on building nothing but T2B tanks inside Adziri. And I'll probably build some naval units as well. Actually, some fleet units. Let's move you over. And the reason why all of these tanks are far more expensive than these infantry units, so I would probably save a lot more credits. You need to go down to the planet. That did not work. And you need to go here. Let's take C-3PO, do another,
I hardly agree with you,
The reason why it looks like this is because I can't do an intelligence thing, or a steal technology, and that's because C-3PO has to go alone. And let's put our troops into, I guess, Hoth, seeing as Adziri here has full capacity. Alright, now this is a fairly massive fleet, a fairly massive pirate fleet. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do.
Recruiting.
So what I want to do is just build up some forces inside Yavin 4, prepare for our invasion of Bonadon. And I'm actually pretty excited because if I could somehow take over this entire cluster, I would have a pretty formidable defense. Alright, let's go ahead, pump out a lot more tanks. These are going to take quite some time. whereas infantry are fairly
troops.
quick.
Training
We're almost at
soldiers.
full capacity as well.
Ready for combat.
And I'm wondering if I should put on more Y-Wings or something like that. Like, let's say I go like this.
Cancelled.
I could easily put on 3 more
Reporting.
Y-Wings and do a lot more
Unit in
damage.
production.
Yeah, now we have full
Construction
capacity. So, I guess no matter what we do, we're gonna have to use up these troops
Reporting.
soon, and I don't know if this is really going to be, possible. I don't know how many ground forces they have, because R2-D2 never made it over.
Y-Wing Squadron reporting.
And sadly, we
Ready
need to
for
take
combat.
over Dagobah before we can actually... I don't think we have the ability to go from here to here to here. I think we actually have to explore the planets first. And I could go ahead and attack, but I'm not going to waste my time. Because for all I know, I could get destroyed fairly easily. Let's take these X-Wings, put them in our fleet. In fact, I might even need 1 or 2 more X-Wings, but I have full capacity. In fact, I have more than full
D2B
capacity.
over.
Mission Holocron has been... I don't really like how it shows me all this, because I don't care. Oh, it looks like we now have a brand new hero.
Y-Wing
The
Squadron
Rebellion fleet of Chewie and Han Solo. In fact, I have a lot of extra troops that I don't really need. But what we're going to do, we are absolutely
Easier than the Kessel.
going to be using our hero in our space battles, and he does actually captain the Millennium Falcon, which is kind of cool. Did we produce all of our Y-Wings? Yes, we did. Let's get our
Beginning
space station level
construction.
3 on both Adziri and Yavin 4.
Building started.
So now we're going to have a lot more capacity, and we're going to try our best. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try to do our invasion of Dagobah. We might need a lot more troops.
D2B
But
over.
while we're here... Yeah, I was going to produce more infantry, but we can't.
Imminent.
Okay, so it says... I don't want to auto-resolve because I don't know if we would be able to do this. And I believe Dagobah actually has a space station. So before I get started, I am going to go ahead and end this episode. So thank you all for joining me. Hope you all have an awesome day. I will see you in our next adventure.